Good afternoon. We are up to Mishnah 16. This Mishnah is authored by Rabbi Yishmael. You may recognize the name Rabbi Yishmael as one of the famous sages, but he's also known for the 13 principles that he uses in terms of interpretation of the Torah that he quotes, and we say it in the Karbonos section of the services in the mornings. Um, so here we are, Mishnah Rabbi Yishmael Omer. Rabbi Yishmael says, Heve kal lerosh. I'm going to use the translation here, be yielding to a superior, v'noach letishchores, and pleasant or gentle to the young, v'heve mikabel es kol ha'adam b'simcha, and you should receive all people with happiness, with joy. Okay, the challenge in this Mishnah is the wording is extremely ambiguous. Kal, the word kal, which could mean light, here is using it as yielding. Rosh is a head, right? Or what kind of a head are we talking about? Noach is generally pleasant. Here is using it as word gentle. Tishchores, what's that? The word that's so again, he's translating it here as the young. Where does that come from? So a number of different approaches. So start off with just the first part, have a kal lerosh, to be, it says to be yielding to a superior. Idea there, what's a superior? Was a superior person. So one angle actually says it's not even talking about people. It's talking about being to God. That and the idea of kal of course, we should be yielding to God, but one approach that Rashi brings down is that when a person is young, they should be kal as in light, because the word kal also means light. Light, like in light-footed, easygoing. Kal could be something that's easy. So a person should be easily willing to do God's will when you're young. And if you're that way when you're young, then it'll be much easier when you're older, and then you will continue in your old age to be pleasant in your relationship and connection to Hashem. One of the interesting takes that is brought down is the word lirosh, lamed resh aleph shin, could be an acronym for la'asot ritzon, to do the will of Avinu Shabashamayim, your Father in heaven. So be light-footed, like ready to do, easygoing towards doing the will of God. That's one approach. The other approach, which most people, I think most commentaries use, is that it's talking about literally someone who's a superior. So a superior could be a political type of person. It could be someone who's just greater than you in terms of their knowledge, their stature, etc. So in such case, it would refer to, like I said, let's say it's talking about political people, so leaders of the city, or he says judges. So to be kal towards them would be to be not to be yielding, meaning don't act like a big shot in front of them. Don't be arrogant towards them, but you should be yielding to them. You should serve them. They're superiors, and therefore when you have a superior, the flip side of a superior is the underling, so to speak, or the person who is giving in to the superior. So that should be how we treat people who are in a authoritative position. We treat them respectfully. According to that, the word tishchores would mean that someone who is, according to one understanding in Rashi, it's someone who is a next position. It's not the leader, but works for the leader. So when Rashi, someone gives like someone like the treasurer, that the person who's in charge of certain things, they're still an official, but they're not the official authority, and therefore you have to also treat them respectfully and nicely, but it's not the same level. It could be any officer of the government, the king, etc. The the other part that he brings down in Rashi is an interesting idea that when it talks about he says when it talks about speaking pleasantly to everybody, he brings down a midrash that there's a midrash that tells that Rachel, our mother Rachel, that we say there's a verse that says Rachel mevaka al baneha. Rachel cries for her children. You may be familiar with this midrash of that Rachel cries on behalf of the Jewish people, and There's a specific medrash that talks about at the time in history when one of the evil kings named Menashe, who had put an idol into the temple, into the Beis HaMikdash, and Hashem was very angry and he wanted to punish them. And our ancestors, our Avos, they pleaded on behalf of the people, and Hashem didn't listen to them. And Rachel, she said to Hashem that not only, look at me. When I got married, right, I was supposed to marry Yaakov, and my sister took my place. And not only did I end up having a second wife besides me, which means I allowed another person, but I gave her the signs to, if you remember the story, that she gave her the signs that Yaakov and Rachel had made as to so that Lavan should not trick them. And I let her have them so she wouldn't be embarrassed. So you see that I was willing to suffer to have another person to have my husband and not just me. So you should also be able to tolerate that. He's speaking to Hashem, and you should forgive them. And so that's the medrash that Rashi brings down here. And the idea is that Hashem should be merciful, but that when we speak to Hashem, we're going to ask him to be merciful, and we are going to conduct ourselves in the proper manner as well. Rabbeinu Yonah, he also talks about the idea of person should be subservient to someone who's in charge. And on the other hand, the person who's the next level, the second level, which is like that treasurer person, that person is not the leader. So you don't have to put yourself in a subservient position, but on the other hand, you also don't act like you're in charge either. And therefore you have to treat him respectfully. And that's the word noach. The word noach means to be pleasant as opposed to being subservient. The Rambam also talks about this idea, and he says that, of course, with an important person, you're going to be treating them on a higher level. But even with a younger person, with a person who's not on the same level, how do you treat that person? So you don't have to be subservient to that person. In fact, you shouldn't. But on the same time, you have to be pleasant and you have to treat them respectfully. Even young people deserve respect. And this comes with a lot of times. Some people have a tendency maybe to treat children with disregard, and that's not right. But certainly not just a child, but a teenager, right? We're there again. These people are in their formative stages. How we treat them makes such a difference in terms of how they're going to end up, and therefore it's important that we treat them respectfully. And the Rambam says, like, don't act when there's a balance. You're not their equal, and they understand that you're an adult, they're a child, but so you have to have a certain distance, but on the same time you have to act with them in a manner that also is respectful and pleasant. And he says, doesn't mean you have to be like serious and in a very solemn manner with them. You are able to be cheerful and pleasant in a way that shows that you are like getting along with them. Obviously, most of you, I'm sure, with your own children, you're familiar with that. If you've been in the teaching business, it's there's a certain level of rapport that you're trying to develop where you are clearly the one in charge or the one who has the higher status, yet they should understand that you care about them and they will therefore care about you. One more point from the Bartanura is also, and as my father says, that the word tishchores, which was the second one about being pleasant, and we said it was the young. So the word tishchores comes from the word shachor. Shachor is black. So they have black hairs. Right? Those of us who are older, our hair is no longer black, right? And that's a sign of getting older. Whereas someone who's younger, they still have that black hair. So again, the idea being that we are pleasant to the people who are younger, and then the last part was about be pleasant and be simcha with everybody to receive everybody with happiness. So that doesn't make a difference, old or young. The person should be treating everybody with that pleasant and cheerful, more than cheerful though, but joyous approach that I'm happy to be in your presence. Okay, we're going to hold it here. We'll finish this Mishnah next time.